North Korea imposes on citizens the obligation to perform tasks assigned by the administration, often without pay and without legal protection. The regime controls work allocations and uses them as a disciplinary instrument intended to maintain loyalty to the authorities. In practice, many people are sent to dangerous mines and large construction sites, where work takes place with minimal medical care and without safety protections. Those arrested for political reasons are sent to penal camps where forced labor is combined with torture, starvation, and very high mortality. Unauthorized running of one's own trading activity is sometimes prohibited, and small entrepreneurs risk confiscation of production means and harsh administrative penalties. The regime organizes the dispatch of workers abroad, where wages are often appropriated by the state and workers labor in conditions akin to slavery. Military service and transfers to dangerous units are sometimes used as a form of forced labor and as punishment for dissidents and their families. The social classification system restricts access to privileged professions, condemning certain families to lowest-tier labor and enduring poverty. Work with foreigners or on international projects is subject to strict restrictions, and unauthorized contacts are punished by administrative reprisals. State agriculture can be the site of relocations and forced labor that deprive families of the ability to maintain independent crops and incomes. There are instances of forced deforestation and timber transport in extreme conditions, which lead to accidents, injuries, and lasting health problems. Those who repair and service electronic equipment risk accusations of possessing banned media and severe reprisals for unauthorized use. Women during forced tasks are exposed to exploitation, which leaves lasting psychological and physical harm. Refusal to carry out assigned work can result in administrative arrest, collective punishments against the family, and the stripping of social rights. Ideological re-education combines long sessions of propaganda with physical labor, aiming to break resistance and enforce obedience to the authorities. On major infrastructure projects, workers often work without appropriate equipment, in low temperatures, and with no breaks for rest. The absence of health care at workplaces means occupational injuries and illnesses go untreated, contributing to high mortality. Factory workers report long hours without compensation, and overtime is treated as a mandatory contribution to the state. Private trade is de facto banned or severely restricted, which penalizes those undertaking independent economic initiatives. Creating independent media, even in the form of repairs or broadcasts, is treated as treason and can attract severe sanctions. Young people are sometimes sent on compulsory tasks and production assignments that take away time for education and development opportunities. Work on arms production or for the needs of party elites is secret and not subject to any safety standards or oversight. People in penal camps perform labor intended to generate profits for repressive institutions and to sustain the prison system. Coercion into labor is a tool of pervasive control that punishes anyone who attempts to create an alternative source of income. The inability to claim compensation after workplace accidents leaves workers' families without means of subsistence and without assistance. The practice of sending workers to other countries is coercive in nature and serves to obtain hard currency for the needs of the state apparatus. Forced tasks include seasonal agricultural work that often occurs during periods requiring intensive labor without pay. Women are placed in the worst paid and most exhausting positions, performing work without leave and without guarantees of safety. Family separations and forced relocations serve to intimidate communities and compel workers to accept imposed obligations. Reprisals against people with foreign contacts include sending them to hard labor and isolating them from the rest of society without trial. Disaster recovery work is carried out without compensation, and workers are exposed to occupational diseases and a lack of medical care. Factory workers often shoulder excessive duties in state production, leading to long-term exhaustion and loss of health. Traders and those running private initiatives risk confiscation and penalties, effectively blocking the development of local small business. Establishing independent union structures and conducting collective bargaining is practically impossible, as such actions are treated as a political threat. Young men are sometimes assigned to penal military units where work functions as punishment and does not guarantee the safety of life. The obligation to work for the state maintains control over labor mobilization and suppresses all private initiatives and independent actions. International organizations document these practices and call for access for researchers, monitors, and humanitarian assistance for victims of forced tasks. Forced labor deprives youth of access to learning and prospects, as they are engaged in compulsory production activities at the expense of education. The repressive labor system encompasses laws, institutions, and daily practices intended to bind the population into a hierarchy of dependency and state control. The structure of forced employment transforms social relations, creating long-term economic dependencies that are difficult to reverse. As a result of forced labor, an economic dependency structure emerges that entrenches power and prevents any change.